This is Kitzur Yomi as we continue learning and we move on to Siman Yud Tes. Siman Yud Tes is going to be the halachas of Mashiv HaRuach, the same Talumater, Yalvi Avai, Anenu, and other assorted additions to Shemona Esrei. Of course, this is a complete progression from the previous Siman, which spoke about Shemona Esrei at large. Says the Kitzur B'chayrif in the winter, Aimer Mashiv HaRuach Umayrid Agashem Umaschilam. We begin b'Musaf Shvel Shmini Atzeres Vashamish Machros Mikoidem. The Gabbai announces Mashiv HaRuach Umayrid Agashem. Vim Lo Yechriz, and very important, if the Gabbai did not announce for whatever its reason, Ein Oimrim Oisay Az. You can't say Mashiv HaRuach before it was announced. But Tfilas HaMusaf Shavlachash. Quietly, what would you do? Then, of course, you would bench Geshem. Then, of course, you would bench Geshem, and you would only begin actually saying it in your own Shemona Esrei by Mincha. Continues the Kitzur, V'chayla, one who is sick, Shazal v'yichliz v'beisai. V'chay minei kfarim, they don't have minyanim, shelim minyanim. Yamtina b'tilas Musaf, they wait before saying Musaf, Adashah, till the time shebevada yispalu. Bayaris Musaf. So if you're davening at home for whatever its reason, you're not allowed to say Mashiv HaRuach before the tzibur does. Va'az yisbalu gameim Musaf yamruah, then they could say Musaf, and they could say Mashiv HaRuach as well. And the bottom of here points out that if you don't, of course, we're learning that you need to have this hachraza, this announcement. But if you know that it was announced, then it's going to be okay. Similarly, let's say you came after the announcement, everyone's bel davening Shemona Esrei, you could say Mashiv HaRuach. Vaymer Moisai and Shemona from Shuni Yitzaretz we say Mashiv HaRuach on Musaf Yom Rishon Shel Pesach Dahainu Shasiv Gam Sheich Tzibur Moisai Oid. On that day, Musaf of Pesach, the Tzibur and the Chazin still say Mashiv HaRuach, but Tfilah say Halachash. And then B'Chazar Sashatz Poisik Malaimer we stop saying Mashiv HaRuach, and that is when we segue into Moirid Hatal or nothing. Vishuv of, and here note number 7 it points out that we're going with the minhag that you don't say Moirid Hatal, as we'll see in a moment. We're just saying you stop. So because you're just stopping in your own Shemona Esrei, you're going to say it, and then afterwards you will stop when they bench tal in Musaf. You don't say it anymore in Mincha. Because we heard for Sheyach Sibur that you stop saying it, and the reason is, as a point said in note 8, is that you don't announce to stop saying something, and therefore you would say it until you daven, till we have Chazar Sashatz of saying Moirid Hatal. However, continues the Kitzur, should make sure you daven Musaf early, so that Shaydai and Lord Pasuk Yeshiva Zimulam Yaris. So Sheikh Sibra has not stopped yet. Kimi Shehu Mispal for someone who davens actually Kvar Pasuk Yeshiva Zimulam. So Sheikh Sibra already stopped. Then you don't say it anymore. Yesh Mekaymes, and this was the note that we pointed out. Says the Kitzur, there are places Shemim Mekayitz, Mashiv HaRuach Umayrid Agashem. V'yachriz min hashamash, and then they announce, Mashiv HaRuach Umayrid Atol, and then they announce Kaidem Musaf, and on bottom of note number 10 it points out that we just say Moirid Atol. V'yachriz min hashamash Kaidem Musaf Yom Rishon Shel Pesach. They announce Moirid Atol. Then we would say it quietly, even in our own Shemona Esrei. So again, we don't announce to stop, but for those who daven Sfard, we would announce Moirid Hatal. Continues with the Kitzur Sif Beis Tov. Someone made a mistake. So we're holding now a few weeks from Sukkot. So someone still could have made a mistake. So says the Kitzur, if you made a mistake, on the bottom they point out, but this is only one who generally davens Ashkenaz, and the mistake that he made was he said nothing. Let's say he generally davens Sfard, and therefore his mistake was that he said Moirid Hatol. We'll see that's going to be a different halacha. So if you said nothing, says the Kitzur, in this Kol if you remember before you said bracha v'chaim esim, then oimer b'makom sheniskar. Say it when you remember it. Rak. Shaloi Yibam Sayini, as long as you're not in the middle of an idea. Okay, going for example. In this kalach shaimer umakayim emunasai in the bracha, Aimer gamke in l'sheni afar, because in makayim emunasai l'sheni afar is one phrase, and then vayim Mashiv HaRuach marigeshem. Mikamaycha and continue mikamaycha vim roitza. And if you want yachlam legamri, you can start over at any point from the beginning of the bracha. Mashiv HaRuach marigeshem mechalkel chayim. Avalim loy niskar lach sheisayim habracha mechayim eisim. If you already finished the bracha mechayim eisim, then so lachzor l'rosh atfilah shonaseh, you got to go back to the beginning of shonaseh. V'losagi shatzchat tzikibor, and you cannot just go back to atkibor. You have to go back to the beginning of shonaseh. Why? Kishlosh brachos rishonos, the first three brachos kechada cheshiva linyanzeh. They all consider one bracha with regards to this. Siman bracha shel kahaygen, and therefore, if you finish the bracha improperly, start lachzor l'rosh atfilah, you have to go back to the beginning of shonaseh. Tar b'mayev shal Pesach. If you made a mistake in Mayev Pesach or Shachar, so a Musaf, Shachar is a Musaf that day. V'lo Omin and say it Ein Tzarich Lachzar. Says the Derech Chaim, you do not have to go back then. And the reason is, in points out in note number 19, is because on a Mayev it would be inappropriate to go back when you're already stopping to say it the next morning. And we'll just point out, says the Kitzur, excuse me, let's just continue. Says the Kitzur in Sif Gimel and Mekayim Shemrim Mekayim Mashiv HaRuach Murdatol. We'll call this Nusach Sfar that says Murdatol. Imtav, you made a mistake. V'amr Gamkin B'chayrif. Let's say now you messed up, and instead of saying Mashiv HaRuach, you said Murdatol. Im lo nizkalach Hashem Baruch Ata Hashem. If you already said Hashem's name, Koyim HaBracha Mechayim Eisim Ve'ein Sarach Lachsa V'Shul Askaras Hashem. You don't have to go back for the mentioning of rain, because you Lamaisa mentioned something, you mentioned tal, and therefore that is Yotze Yerchiyavach. However, in this case, Mekoidem, Shemer Hashem, if you remember to the shame, then of course, it's best to fix up your mistake. We continue with Sif Dalet on the flip side. If you messed up in this summer, Vaymer Mashiv HaRuach Umayr Geshem. And again, now this is going to apply whether one davens Sfard and generally says Ma'ir Atal or not, but right now we're going into the summer, so you're supposed to be stopping, either saying Ma'ir Atal or saying nothing. So if you now in the summer said Mashiv HaRuach, and this if you remember before you said the Bracha Mechayim Eisim, Chayzer Maschal Atagibur, you go back to Atagibur. Ve'ein Ezois Midin Chazar, it's not called returning. Elikdei Shetei Bracha Nikeres. Sheina Eimer Ba Mashiv HaRuach Marigeshem. You finish the bracha, you got to go back because davening for rain in the wrong time is inappropriate. It's considered a curse to have rain at that time, and therefore you have to go back. Continues the kids. If in the summer, what did you do? You said just Mashiv HaRuach v'loimer murda geshem ina mazik klal v'oimer mechal kalchaim ksei mechal chaim im tov b'mayir v'shach shel shmini atzeres v'oimer itzach lach shel rosh, like we mentioned on that final day. And now we move into Sif Hey, which is going to be very relevant this coming week, as we're about to begin V'sein Talumater, incredible Siyata Dishmaya, here in Chutz La'aretz at least. Says the Kitzur Maschin Leimer Talumater B'tfilas Ma'ariv in the Ma'ariv of Shal Yom Shisha Nachat Tekufas Tishrei, the 60th day after the Tekufa of Tishrei V'hu, and that is Yom Rivi Chamish Al Chodesh December. That is the 4th or 5th day of December. Va'oimrim ad Pesach, and we say it until Pesach. Over here, note number 30 points out on December before a February with 29 days, it's going to be December 5th. Every other time is going to be December 4th. I think last year was one of the unique scenarios that it was December 5th, but in general, it will be December 4th. And then it points out in note 31, for those who love calendars, that in the year 2100, it's going to go up to year 6, year 7. Okay, we'll come back to the Shirim then. And we conclude with Sif Vav. Im Ta'a. So made a mistake in the winter. Which again, we're starting Talumatar this Wednesday. So let's say someone messed up. You didn't say Talumatar. Said the same bracha. So in this, according to Shayim Baruch Baruch Hashan, remember before you finish that bracha, Omer Sham, saying Talumatar bracha b'nei Adam of Zabein, Chaysim Korai. If you don't remember bracha, and you continue davening. Ubesoich bercha shema koilenu. Then achareka mal tishivenu oimer v'sein talumat levracha ki ata shemea. Then you finish up the bracha. And even if you do not remember Shema Kolenu Racha Hashem Baruch Ata Hashem, you remember it after you say Baruch Ata Hashem of Shema Kolenu. Hashem, if you didn't say Hashem, you just said Baruch Ata. If you do not remember then again you don't go back to the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei, but Chayzer Maschal Baruch Aleinu. Go back to Baruch Aleinu. Then you're going to have to go back to the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei, Chayzer L'Rosh HaTfilah. I'm sorry, we're not finishing over here. One more short sif. Sif Zayin says the Kitzur. Ta bekayitz, on the flip side, he messed up in the kayitz in the summer of Amr Talamat, Chazir Maschal Baruch Aleinu, go back to Baruch Aleinu. Then Chayzer L'Rosh HaTfilah. We'll pick it up from Simchas in the next shiur.